You'll not have had your first cup yet, and here's my knock at your door before the birds are properly up. But you left me on a doorstep last week I could not sleep on. You rolled a wave along, free, across the open country, at liberty to be any energy it fancied. And then, one hand on the latch, coat half on, you said the whole game changes the instant you pen it in. Well, I've walked up in the dark to watch the walls go up. Build me the cage.
The fire's barely caught, and here you are with mud to the knee. But a promise is a promise, and this is the one I've been most impatient to keep in the whole course. Hang the coat, sit yourself close. What I hand you tonight is the thing the last 6 nights were all quietly walking toward. And you'll build the better half of it with your own 2 hands, the way you always do. But before a single wall goes up, set the free wave back on the table for me, whole, so I know precisely what it is we're about to imprison.
Here it is then, loose, roaming, the whole inventory laid out square. The electron is a wave, a spread of Feynman's little clocks, one standing at every point, each with a length and an hour it happens to point at. Square the length at a spot, and out drops the odds of finding it there. That's last week's rule, the squaring I bled myself pale over. And how it's moving lives in the winding, a tight, short wavelength for a fast one, a long, loping wavelength for a slow one. That's the whole beast, laid bare on your table. Every clock, every height, the odds and the motion braided into the one shape.
Carried out of my house straight, not a drop spilled. Now add the one line that matters most for tonight. The one line I mean to take back off you before the kettle's boiled. Out in the open, that wave can wind at any rate it pleases, any wavelength at all.
Which is to say, any speed, any energy.
Now hold that dial bright in your mind. A smooth, unbroken sweep that runs from nothing on up, with not one single value along it forbidden. That's the freedom of the open road, continuous, every value yours for the asking, any note at all, and not a single fret on the neck to stop your finger anywhere along it.
And that never once struck me as remarkable, I'll confess. Why would it? A thing running loose can surely go however fast it likes. Give it a hard shove and it runs quick, a gentle one and it dawdles. A smooth knob with never a notch filed on it anywhere.
In the open, just so. And that's exactly why I want it fixed in your hand before we cage it. Because the walls are about to reach out and do a thing to that smooth dial that ought to be flatly impossible. And I want you to feel the impossibility land square, not take it on my say-so. Now, let's build your cage.
Go on then. What is this cage? How does a body pen a wave in the first place?
Picture the plainest prison there is. A strip of floor and a wall standing at each end of it. 2 walls, sheer and hard, and between them a stretch the wave may roam. Outside the walls is forbidden country. The wave may not go there.
Not go there how strictly? A little leak past the edge, or…
Not a whisper of it. Not the faintest presence beyond either wall, not ever. We had this creature briefly a fortnight back, and I gave it a name in passing, a particle in a box. Tonight it stops being a thing I glance at through the keyhole, and becomes the whole evening's work.
The box, aye. You shrank the poor thing in one till it couldn't hold still. So tonight we quit squinting at it through the keyhole, and we actually move in.
And here's where I want your old instinct out on the table, loud, so we can walk back from it together. For you're carrying a wrong answer in without knowing it, same as everyone does. Tell me plainly, I shut this wave in the box. What becomes of its energy?
Nothing becomes of it, surely. The walls hem in where the thing can be. That's their whole trade, to fence the room. But whatever energy I gave it walking in, it keeps. Fling it in hard, it's a fast wave sloshing about in there. Set it down gentle, it's a slow one. The room fences the where. It's got no earthly business with the how much.
There's the wrong turn nearly every soul takes, and you've stepped straight onto it, bless you. You're reasoning the way Newton would. Set a marble rocking in a bowl, says Newton, and you may hand it any energy you fancy. A tiny rock, a wild one, anything on a smooth dial between. The bowl governs only where the marble rolls. The how much is yours to dial at will. Where and how much, filed in two separate drawers, that never once pass a word between them.
And I'll push you on it because that sounds like plain good sense. Take even a marble bouncing back and forth between two walls. No bowl, just your box, the plain classical version. I can start it off at any speed under the sun, can't I? Dead slow or howling fast or anything between. The walls never once told it how quick to go.
The classical marble takes any speed, any energy, a smooth, unbroken range, and the walls only ever turn it round at the ends. The old world's answer, stated to perfection. And it is perfectly wrong for a wave. Where's the daylight between the marble and the wave? That gap is the whole of tonight, and I'll not close it in a sentence.
Then leave it gaping and let me watch. But first, the walls themselves. What do they do to the wave, right where it meets them? The marble just bonks off and rolls back. Does my wave bonk?
Does it now? I'd go careful there, for you've asked it the way a man asks when he smells a trap. And you're right to smell one. Not bonk, obey. Here's the one hard law the walls lay down, and every last thing tonight grows out of this single seed, so take it slow. Beyond the wall is forbidden ground, where the wave is barred from being at all, so out there its height is nothing. Forbidden means forbidden out there, not merely unlikely, not merely faint, simply not, the whole way out.
Nothing meaning flat? No wave whatever past the wall?
Remember what a height of nothing means in the tongue you already own. Square it for the odds, and nothing squared is nothing. No chance at all of catching the electron out there. Which is only right. We forbade it that ground with our own hands. Flat nothing, the whole way out.
So the odds of finding it past the wall are dead zero. Fair enough, but that's outside. What pins it at the wall itself?
Because a wave cannot leap. It cannot stand tall as your hand on the near side of the wall and be nothing at all, a hair's breadth past it. That would be a cliff, a tear, and a wave does not tear.
So it can't be a great height on the inside and nothing on the outside with a sheer drop stitched between the two.
No choice whatever is left to it then. It must come down to nothing right at the wall. Arrive at the very foot of the wall, already flat, already nothing, so there's no cliff left to leap. Pinned to zero. And not at the one wall, at both. Whatever the wave gets up to in the middle of the room, it is nailed down to nothing at each end. 2 knots tied fast, and a free stretch of rope strung between them to do as it pleases.
Pinned to nothing at both ends. So the wave isn't even free to please itself at the edges. Held fast at each wall, and only the middle its own. That's a skipping rope, that is. A rope somebody's gripping tight in 2 fists, free to belly out through the middle but nailed dead at each hand.
You've reached for the same rope I had waiting behind my back, so take a proper grip of it. A skipping rope. A washing line pulled taut. A string stretched tight and pinned at both ends. That is your box, to the letter. The wall ends hold the wave down to nothing. The middle is free to swell. And now the whole question of the night is the plainest one a child could ask of such a string. Pinned dead at both ends, what shapes can it actually hold?
The easy one leaps up first. It bellies in the middle, one clean arch. Nothing at the left wall, swelling to a single crest, dead center, back down to nothing at the right. One lone hump filling the whole room. That fits your rule, surely, both ends sitting at nothing, just as ordered.
Two children skipping a rope gently give you exactly that. One lazy belly through the middle, both ends fast in their fists. The calmest shape the box allows. A single arch across the whole floor. Now don't you dare stop at one. Give me the next shape that obeys the same two rules. Nothing at each wall, and doesn't merely hand the first one back to me.
Two humps then. It swells to a crest partway along, comes back down to nothing in the very middle of the room, touches nothing there, dead centre, then swells away the other side and back down to nothing at the far wall. Up, through nothing, up the other way, down. Two bellies where there was one. Still obeying, nothing at both walls and content to touch nothing in the middle besides. A shape with a still heart, and a full belly swung out to either side of it.
Skip that rope good and hard, and there's your next shape. Two bellies and a still point pinned dead in the centre where the rope crosses through nothing. And notice the odd little guest that still point drags in with it, for it'll matter down the road. Right there in the dead middle, the wave is nothing.
So the odds of catching the electron are 0 at that exact spot. Square the nothing, and it's nothing. There's a place smack in the middle of the room where the electron is simply never found. Even though it's free to sit on either side of it. That's a queer thing to say out loud.
Leave that still point lie tonight. You'll meet a whole colony of its kind further down the road. Run me on up the family instead.
3 humps next, 3 bellies, 2 still points along the way. Then 4. On and on, each folding one more belly into the same room. Every last one still nailed to nothing at both walls. A whole procession of them, and every member fits.
The family marches off with no last member, each one obeying, each one nailed dead at both walls. So here is the question that quietly splits the world in two. You've handed me 1 hump, 2 humps, 3. What about the shapes in between?
In between? You mean a hump and a half, something like that?
Ben, walk it across the floor for me. A hump and a half. Try to lay it in the box.
Right, it rises from nothing at the left wall, makes its first full belly, comes down through nothing in the middle, starts up into a second belly, and then the far wall arrives too soon. It catches the wave halfway up that second belly, standing tall, nowhere near the ground, cut clean off in mid-arch.
And your own rule. Say what it does to that.
It forbids it, flat. The far walls caught the wave standing at some fat height, and the wave's not allowed any height where the wall is. It must be nothing there. So a hump and a half simply cannot live in this box. It breaks the rule at the right-hand wall, plain as day.
Now here's what cannot live in the box truly means, and it's far stranger than a warden turning it out at the door. The wave isn't refused entry. It strangles itself.
Strangles itself? That's a grim trade for a wave. How does a shape throttle its own neck?
Follow me close. A wave penned between 2 walls is forever bouncing. Off the one wall, back across the room, off the other, back again, over and over without end. So what actually sits in that room is never one lonely wave. It's the wave laid on top of every one of its own reflections, all at once, the whole crowd of them piled together.
Piled together? That's the tip to tail adding again, isn't it? The arrows laid nose to tail, the way I built the lump at the slits.
Watch what that piling actually does. The wave runs the length of the room and back, a full round trip, wall to wall to wall, and on its return it has to land back atop itself, in step or out. For a shape that fits, a whole number of humps, the round trip brings every reflection home dead in step, crest landing on crest, hour agreeing with hour. Only a whole number of humps makes that homecoming line up, and so they stack into one steady standing shape that rings on and never fades.
And for my hump and a half, the one that won't close?
A fraction of a hump, and the round trip brings it home. Shifted. The reflections come back out of step, crest landing in trough, the hours pointing dead opposite ways. And they knife one another out. The shape adds up to nothing, everywhere, forever. It cuts its own throat the instant it tries to exist.
So the box doesn't merely pick the notes it likes, it murders every note that doesn't fit. It's the same great cancelling from the two-slit night. A shape that doesn't close comes back on itself out of step and wipes itself clean out of existence. And only the whole hump shapes are left standing, because those are the only ones that come home in step with themselves.
And there's the knot tied whole. The fitting shapes are the sole survivors of a war that every other shape wages against itself, and loses. This self-strangling is why it could never stand tall at the wall pinning it to nothing, and the wave knifing itself out are the one fact seen twice over. The second the mechanism sitting under the first. A whole number of humps, and only ever a whole number, lives to ring in that room. 1, 2, 3, on up the family. And nothing whatever in the cracks between.
And this is a plucked string. It has to be.
Say why. Don't just point at it and grin. Say why, in your own words.
A guitar string, a fiddle string, held fast at both ends. Pluck it, and it will only ever sound certain pitches. The one deep note that fills its whole length with a single belly, the fundamental, then the harmonics stacked above it, 2 bellies, 3, each a higher note, and not one thing in between. You cannot coax a string to sound a pitch between its harmonics. It sorts itself onto the fitting shapes, and no others. My boxed wave is a plucked string.
A string fixed at both ends sings its fundamental and its harmonics. A ladder of allowed shapes, whole humps only, with pure ringing silence in every gap. Pen a quantum wave between 2 walls, and the identical law falls on it, down to the hair. Only the fitting shapes may stand there. The box has handed your wave a short list of permitted shapes, and torn every other one to shreds. A whole infinity of shapes tried the room tonight, and only a countable handful walked back out of it alive.
A short list of shapes. I've got that, and got it firm. But hold on, you promised me the walls would do something to the energy, to the how much. And so far all you've penned in is the shape. Where in all this does the energy come marching in?
By a road you paved yourself last week, and never once dreamed you'd walk it here. Look hard at the one hump shape, that long single arch spanning the whole width of the room. What kind of wavelength is that? Long or short?
Long. The gentlest, laziest bend a wave could make across that width. One slow arch, wall to wall.
Now the 2 hump shape. Same room, same width, but the wave doubles back on itself twice, so each belly is squeezed into half the floor. Its wavelength?
Shorter, sharper. You folded twice the wave into the one room, so each wiggles cramped into a tighter space. And 3 humps would be shorter still, tighter still. More humps into the same room means a shorter wavelength, every time.
There's the whole bridge, built. And now cast your mind back to last week's fire, because you nailed a thing to that table, and it's about to pay you handsomely. A wavelength was never merely a shape. What did the tightness of the winding stand for?
The motion. The bendiness is the motion energy. A short, tight wavelength is a sharp bend, and a sharp bend is a wave clutching a great heap of go. A long, loping wavelength is a gentle bend, a slow, calm wave. So if more humps means a shorter wavelength, then more humps means...
Finish it. Don't let me steal the last stride off you. You've earned the standing to take it whole.
Then more humps means more energy. Each shape carries its own. One hump, long wavelength, gentlest bend, that's the least motion energy, the utter calmest the trapped wave can be. 2 humps, shorter, sharper, carries more. 3, more again, and up and up. Every fitting shape has one definite wavelength, and one wavelength is one definite energy. So every allowed shape is one allowed energy. The short list of shapes was a short list of energies the whole time.
And keep the direction of it dead straight, for it's the one place a body's boot always slips. Say it back to me the wrong way round on purpose, so I can hear you catch yourself before you fall.
The wrong way would be busier shape, more humps, so it's more crammed and cramped, so surely it's lower? No, there's the slip, I feel it. More humps is a shorter wavelength, and a shorter wavelength was always more go, never less. The busy, many-humped shapes are the high rungs. The calm, single arch is the low one. I very nearly walked backward right off the step. Busy is fast, calm is slow. I'll have it tattooed on the back of my hand before I ever invert it on you again.
You caught your own heel, which is the only way it ever sticks to the bone. And there's a lovely echo hiding in it from last week you shouldn't miss. Out in the open, you told me, a free wave could carry a whole blend of energies at once. A heap of wavelengths folded together to make a lump. But the trapped wave...
The trapped wave's been driven onto single, pure notes. One shape, one wavelength, one energy. No blend allowed at all, because a blend would never fit the room neatly. Free country, any smear of energies you please, walls around it, and it's forced onto the pure notes one at a time. That's the pair you left me holding at your door last week.
And now you feel the teeth in it. Say plainly then what the walls have gone and done to Newton's smooth dial.
They've broken it. Newton's dial ran smooth from nothing on up, every value allowed, any energy you please. And the walls have snapped it into rungs. The trapped wave can hold this energy, or that one, or the next. The 1-hump energy, the 2-hump energy, the 3-hump, but nothing whatever in between them. A ladder, not a ramp.
And there at last is the word this whole course has been walking toward for 7 nights. Let me set it down where you can see it plain. This is quantization. Confine a wave, and its energy stops being a smooth quantity you can dial to any value at all, and becomes a set of separate, permitted steps. A staircase, never a slope, and the wonder of it is that it falls straight out of nothing grander than a wave that has to fit a room. No fresh law smuggled in, no new grain scattered by hand, just the plain fact of fitting, and the ladder stands up on its own.
So nature hands my boxed electron a menu, not a dial. That's the thing, isn't it? I walk into her little restaurant with my trapped wave and ask, all reasonable, for an energy halfway between 2 rungs, and the waiter just stares at me. Not on the menu, sir. We do the fundamental. We do 2 humps. We do 3. We do not, and we shall not do 2.5.
Ask till you're hoarse. The kitchen physically cannot cook it. And here's the teeth past the joke. It isn't that the waiter's being stubborn, nor that the dish is rare and dear. A 2.5-hump wave strangles itself at the wall and never reaches the table at all. The gaps between the rungs aren't orders nature's reluctant to fill.
They're orders that can't be placed in the first place.
Barred, not merely scarce. The identical hardness you learn to love in the dark bands. A thing that doesn't fit isn't unlikely. It's forbidden outright, and the forbidding is total.
And I don't get to file the rungs a little closer together myself either, do I? Lean on the walls and beg them to shift the spacing to suit me.
Not a hope in the world. You don't set the spacing of the rungs, the room sets it, and the room alone. But here's a knob you can turn, and it's worth a place in your pocket. because it circles us straight back to that fire a fortnight past. What happens to the whole ladder if you shove the walls closer together? Squeeze the room smaller.
Smaller room? I'm crushing the wavelengths shorter, aren't I? Even the one hump arch has to cram into a tighter width, so it's forced to bend harder. Shorter wavelength, sharper bend, more go. So squeezing the box drives the whole ladder up. Every rung climbs.
Up into the air, the lot of it, and the gaps between the steps yawning wider apart as they go. And listen to what you just said in the old tongue. Pin a thing into a tighter place, and its energy is forced up, never down. That is the floor you cannot beat, wearing tonight's coat. Cage a wave hard, and it's driven to carry more go, not less. The two nights are the one night, seen twice over.
But now you've handed me a fresh worry, and it's that classical marble again, come back to nag. If every trapped thing sits on a ladder, every last one, then why did my bouncing marble seem to take any old speed at all? Why have I never once in my life caught a real, hand-sized thing rationed onto rungs?
Because the bigger and heavier the caged thing, and the wider the room you give it, the more fantastically close its rungs are packed together. Crush a whole marble into a whole bowl, and its ladder has so many rungs, jammed so unimaginably tight, that no eye and no instrument that ever was or will be could tell one rung from the one above it. The staircase is still a staircase.
It's only that the steps have shrunk below anything a body could ever stub a toe on. So the smooth ramp was a ladder the whole time. I just could never make out the separate rungs on a thing that big.
And what sets how fine those teeth are cut? The same grain from the first night by the fire, that fantastically tiny unit nature keeps in her own pocket. The one plank was dragged to kicking. It's the very fence you drew that night. Above it, the big, smooth world where the rungs blur into one seamless ramp. Below it, down at the electron, where the rungs stand far enough apart to trip a man flat. Let the grain shrink to nothing, and the whole ladder melts straight back into Newton's dial. Set that grain to naught, and the whole grainy world dissolves back to smooth. Keep it, and the rungs bite.
So the ladder was under the marble all along, just too finely cut to see. That eases something in me, and it rings that older bell right through the room. The very first night by the fire. The graininess. You swore to me 3 times over that the world comes counted out in grains, that energy doesn't flow smooth but arrives in lumps, and you left it standing as a brute fact I'd simply have to swallow whole. And this penned-in wave, this ladder, this is where so much of the graininess comes from, isn't it? It was never a brute fact at all.
Go gently now. You're astride ahead of your own feet. But you've caught the true scent of it. That first night, the graininess of energy was a fact, the experiments forced on us at knife point, and not a living soul could say why. Not every grain from that night springs from this one root. The furnace's glow keeps a tale all its own for another evening. But the atom's grainy light you're watching assemble itself in front of you now, out of nothing but a wave must fit. Confine any wave, and its energies come out grainy, counted rung by rung, because only whole humps settle between walls. But keep your feet under you, because you're about to walk that thought straight into the one thing that haunted you worst of all that first night.
Before you steer me there, let me say the daft thing that's just struck me, because it's making me grin, and I do believe it's true. Everything I trap starts to sing. A wave loose in the open holds any energy, smeared and mute and free. Shut it in a box, and it turns into a plucked string. It can only ring on its harmonics. So the whole grainy quantum world, the whole business of rungs and steps and allowed energies, it's music. Confinement is just nature learning to play the guitar.
Every trapped thing in all creation is an instrument, and its allowed energies are the notes its shape will let it sound. And I mean to steal that from you wholesale. Free, and it's a formless rush of air with no pitch to it at all. Walled in, and it's a string with a scale. The universe, penned in, is a guitar. Hold that tight, because now I'm going to hand you the one string that first night left ringing in the dark. And this time, you're going to name the tune yourself.
Though hold a moment, a real plucked string sounds a whole fistful of its harmonics at once, doesn't it? Pluck the thing and you hear the deep note and a shimmer of the higher ones all braided into the single twang. Does my electron ring all its rungs together like that too, in a chord?
A fair snag, and worth the catching before it trips you further along. The string picture tells you which notes are allowed, the short list, the harmonics and pure silence between, and that part carries over whole and true. But a single trapped electron, left to itself, sits on just the one rung at a time, sounding its one pure note, not the whole chord at once. The harmonics are the menu it may choose from, not a heap it strikes all together. It climbs and drops between them one step at a time, and each single step is one color. Keep the allowed list, let the whole chord go. Now, that one string the first night left hanging in the air, unexplained. Name it.
The atom. You're steering me at the atom. I can feel it in my boots.
Cast your mind right back to that first night, and the third crack, the one that went for the throat. Heat a gas of one single kind of atom, run a spark through it, and it glows. But not a smooth rainbow.
I remember it. Not a rainbow at all. A handful of sharp, separate colours, bright, narrow stripes, each at its own exact pitch, with hard black silence in every gap between. You called it a barcode, painted in light.
Every kind of atom carries its own private set of those stripes, always the same, sharp and repeatable, as a signature scrawled the identical way twice. And that first night, we could not say why for the life of us. So tell me now, what should a smooth little solar system atom have poured out instead?
A smooth smear. If the electron could sit at any distance from the nucleus at all, and spiral in through every distance on the way down, it ought to sweep through every colour along the road and paint one continuous rainbow band, every shade melting into the next. Instead, nature hands over a few sharp lines with ringing black between, as though only certain colours are ever let out the door. A whole rainbow with the most of it scrubbed away, and only a few narrow stripes left standing.
And how did we patch it that night? Do you recall the shape of the fix?
Somebody made a bold, bare-faced leap, just declared it, said the electron may only sit on certain rungs and no others, with nothing in between, so it can only glow in certain colours. Declared, mind. Propped up on nothing in the world but the plain fact that it happened to work. It always sat uneasy with me that, a rule pulled straight out of a hat because the barcode demanded one.
A guess with no flaw beneath it. The rungs conjured from thin air because the sky flatly insisted on them, and nobody able to say from what deeper thing the rungs were even cut. Tonight you can. So tell me, in the language you now own outright, what is an electron bound to a nucleus?
Well, the nucleus pulls it, holds it close, won't let it wander to the far hills. It's hemmed in, kept, penned.
Penned. Not by two hard walls, no, by the pull. But penned every bit as truly as by walls. So finish the thought you've already half said.
It's a trapped wave. The electron round the nucleus is a wave shut in a room, only the room's built out of pull instead of brick, so only certain standing shapes fit around it, and every shape is one energy, so it can hold only certain energies. The rungs come out on their own. Nobody has to declare them from a hat. They fall out, the same way the humps fell out of my box.
The leap that first night hung in the empty air on nothing whatever. And there is its floor at last, laid quietly beneath it 7 nights on. The rungs were never a decree handed down from on high. They're the harmonics of a trapped electron, the only shapes that fit the room the nucleus builds. Now finish the barcode for me. You half guessed it that first night. Tonight you can do it whole. The electron sits on a high rung and drops to a lower one. What comes out?
One lump of light, of one exact colour. It sheds the gap between the two rungs, no more and no less, and the colour rides on the size of that lump. So a jump between two particular rungs makes light of one particular colour every single time, without fail. Fixed rungs make fixed gaps make fixed colours, and that is the barcode. That's why an atom glows in sharp separate lines instead of a smooth smear, because its electron is a trapped wave, and a trapped wave has only certain rungs to fall between.
There it is at last. The staircase read out in light. And now you know where the staircase itself was quarried. Except it was never quarried at all. It grew, the way a string's harmonics grow, straight out of a wave that has to fit its room.
And it runs the other way too, doesn't it? I've only this second seen it. If the atom can only ever fall between fixed rungs and let out those colours, then it can only ever drink those same ones. Soak up a lump of light and climb a rung, but only if the lump is the exact size of a gap it already owns.
Shine the whole smooth rainbow through a cool gas, then, and the atom sips out only its own handful of colours, the exact gaps in its ladder, and leaves black notches standing where it drank. The same barcode, printed dark instead of bright. Emit or drink, the atom speaks only in the colours its rungs permit, and in not one other.
So the dark lines cut into the sunlight, and the bright lines glowing in the spark are the one single fingerprint, just read two different ways.
And here's the part that ought to lift the hair on your arm. That fingerprint is the same for every atom of its kind. Here in this grate, or burning in a star halfway across the sky, or 1,000 years before either of us drew our first breath. Every sharp line you'll ever catch in any glass you point upward is a trapped wave, somewhere out there, falling from one of its rungs to another, and letting the difference go as a single clean note of light.
The whole sky's barcodes. Every star's private signature written out in colour. All of it just trapped waves plucking their own strings. I'm going to have to sit in that one a good long moment. That's a thing that rearranges the furniture right back against the walls. I climbed the hill for a box on a strip of floor, and you've gone and handed me the reading of the whole night sky.
Here I must lay a flat hand on the table and slow you, for you're astride from building more on this than the night has honestly earned you. I've drawn the atom for you as a wave in a plain box, and that is the true bones of the idea. But a real atom is no simple strip of floor with two sheer walls. I straightened the room flat to teach you the trick. The real one is round and soft-edged and stranger by far.
How does it differ? Give me just the shape of the difference, not the whole cargo of it.
The nucleus's pull is a soft-sided valley, not a cliff. The room it makes is round, not a line, so the fitting shapes are richer and stranger than my tidy humps, and the ladder they stack into is spaced by a rhythm all its own, not the plain one of my box. The true shapes, the true spacing, the real barcode of the real atom, all of that is a whole night's fire of its own, waiting further up the road.
Parked with the rest of the fleet, and gladly, I'll not go spending the real atom tonight on a strip of floor sketch. What I climbed the hill for was the why. Rungs, because a trapped wave must fit. That I'll trust with my whole weight, and not 1 ounce heavier than the evening fairly earned me.
Then, before the fire drops, let me turn one last stone, for there's a creature hiding on the very bottom rung that settles a debt you've owed me since a fortnight back. Go to the calmest shape the box allows, the one hump wave, the fundamental, the least the trapped thing can carry, and ask of it the plain question you'd put to Newton's marble sitting in its bowl. Can the trapped wave ever hold perfectly still?
It ought to be able to, surely. The bottom of the ladder, that's the resting rung, isn't it? The one place the wave gets to lie down flat and hold still. No energy, no motion, no fuss. The floor of the whole staircase is the ground, nothing.
Draw me that flat, still, resting wave in the box, and watch it vanish in your own hand. Flat means no humps, no arch anywhere at all. Nothing at the walls, nothing in the middle, nothing the whole way across the room.
But a wave that's nothing everywhere is.
No wave at all. It's an empty room. It says the electron isn't anywhere in the box. And we put the thing in the box, you and I, with our own hands. So the flat, dead-still wave is forbidden, not by any rule about energy at all, but because it would mean the creature we trapped simply isn't in there. You cannot keep a prisoner and an empty cell in the one breath. One of the two has to give.
So the calmest the wave is allowed to be still has one hump. It still arches, still bends, still holds a wavelength. And a bend was never nothing. A bend is always some scrap of motion energy, so even the very bottom rung isn't zero. The lowest the trapped thing can ever sink still carries a shiver of go it can't put down.
A fortnight ago, at this same fire, you met this shiver coming from the floor you cannot beat. Box a thing, pin its place, and it's forbidden a dead-still speed. It keeps a tremble no cold on earth can still, right down to the coldest midnight there is. Tonight you've walked up on the identical shiver from the far road entirely. The lowest rung sits above the ground because the calmest wave that fits still has to curve. 2 roads, 1 truth. There's the debt paid in full.
A confined thing can never be perfectly still. You said it to me that night almost word for word, and here it is again with a whole new proof standing behind it. One road came at it through the blur, this one through the humps, and the same shiver sits waiting at the end of both.
And you'll try to wriggle out of it. Everyone does. So wriggle now while I'm here to catch you by the collar. How would you cheat the shiver away entire? How would you make that bottom rung sink to nothing after all?
I'd make the box bigger, give the wave more room, and its one hump arch can stretch out long and lazy. A longer wavelength, a gentler bend, less go. Widen the walls, and the bottom rung sinks toward the ground.
But does it ever reach the ground?
No, never quite. However wide I fling the walls, the one hump still has to be nothing at each end and belly up in between, so it always keeps some bend, always some scrap of go. It only touches nothing when the walls are infinitely far apart, and that's…
Say what that is. Out loud.
That's no box at all. That's the free wave, roaming the open country again, back where we began the night. So the only way to still the shiver entirely is to uncage the thing outright. The instant there's a wall anywhere, however far off in the dark, the bottom rung lifts clear of the ground and the shiver's back.
And it never once leaves till the last wall's gone. Pin a thing in a place, and in the one same motion you've handed it a hum, it keeps clutched to itself right to the end of time.
So even in jail, even shut in the tightest cell nature builds, at the coldest midnight of all creation, every other thing in the whole universe frozen stone dead around it. My poor boxed electron still can't manage to sit properly still. Got the fidgets for all eternity. sentenced to a shiver it can never once serve out, no matter how good its behaviour in the yard.
And there's no cheating it, not for any want of trying mind, but by the plain geometry of having to fill a room while being nothing at its walls. The calmest note a string can hold is still a note. It is not silence. And that hum wears the name you met a fortnight back. The 0-point motion. And here it stands again, fallen out of nothing but a wave that has to fit.
You've that look about you now, the one you always wear with a hand already resting light on a nicer door. All night long you've had my wave stopping dead at the walls, pinned flat to nothing, obedient as any string on its pegs. And I'll wager my hat the next thing out of your mouth is that it doesn't really, that a real wave doesn't stop quite so politely as all that.
You've caught me with the hand on the handle, so I'll crack the door a finger's width and not 1 inch further. Tonight I built you perfect walls, sheer, endless, unclimbable, and against those a wave truly does die to nothing right at the foot of them, meek as a string on its peg. But nature's own walls are softer than the ones I built you.
Softer how? Where does my tidy picture start to fray at the edge?
Against a real wall, the wave doesn't snap to nothing in a single sharp step. It leaks a little way in, dwindling fast as it goes, but poking its fading height a short stretch into the forbidden ground the wall itself is made of.
Into the wall? Into the very place you've spent the whole night swearing blind it was barred from ever being.
Hold your fire. You're right to smell a broken rule, and I'll be square with you about it, rather than paper it over. Tonight's sheer, perfect wall was the tidy idealization, the one that made the humps come out tidy for teaching. The real leak is small, and the rungs mostly weather it, so nothing you carry home is a lie. But the wall is no longer a perfect peg the string is lashed to. It's a soft edge the wave can seep a little way past.
All right, the picture bends but doesn't snap, so the wave seeps a short way into the wall, and then what?
And here's the piece I will not let you spend tonight, so mind your footing on it. If the wall is thick, the wave fades right away to nothing somewhere inside it, and that's the whole of the tale. But make the wall thin, thin enough that the wave, dwindling, hasn't quite faded to nothing before it reaches the far side.
Then it pokes out the other face?
Out it comes, into the daylight on the far side. The wave has walked clean through. The electron can turn up standing beyond a wall its energy swears blind it could never in this world have climbed.
Through the wall, not over it, through it. Turning up in a room it hadn't the energy to have walked into by the door. Not vaulting the fence, seeping straight through the boards of it.
Tonight the wave obeyed its walls, meek and lawful, but next time it cheats them outright. That is the whole of next week, and I'll say no more of it than its bare name at the door. The wave walks through walls. A meek prisoner tonight. A wall-walking burglar come the next fire.
Then I'll leave that wall undrilled till next week, same as I left the string unplucked the week before, and the sheet on the rule the week before that. You do love to rap a man's knuckles at a handle.
It's the only way you ever truly own the far side of a door, wanting it a whole week first. Now, before the ritual, the plain accounting. What did we not do tonight? You'll want it. You always do.
I do. Lay it out square so I don't stroll home claiming the evening earned me more than it did.
3 things left honestly dark. No more. We did not build the real atom. I gave you a wave on a strip of floor, and the true round room the nucleus makes waits its own night. We did not drill the wall. The leaking through is named and no further. And I've breathed not one word about what happens with more than the single electron crowded in the room, nor about a certain private turning each one carries about with it. Those are their own fires, higher up the hill. What you carry out whole is the one clean bone. Trap a wave, and its energy comes in rungs.
And nothing I learned tonight gets quietly unlearned come the winter. This is the survives only richer kind, same as the negative that survived into the clock hand. The true atom's rungs answer to a subtler rule, and the real wall leaks where mine stood sheer. But every last refinement only deepens the thing, never undoes it. Richer later, wrong never. That's the deal you always cut me, and it's held true across all 7 nights.
You know the ritual by heart now, the two of us. The last word at the door is always yours. So take the floor, say the whole night back to me in a single breath, and I'll be listening close for the one clock among them all that's pointing to the wrong hour.
Then here it is, the whole of it, in one breath. I came up the hill in the dark to watch you build a cage, and you finally cashed the promise you left me on the latch with. You took the free wave, the one at liberty to hold any energy at all on a smooth, unbroken dial, and you penned it between 2 walls. And the walls pinned it to nothing at both ends, which made it a string held fast in 2 fists. And only the shapes that fit that string could live there, a whole number of humps and never a fraction, because every shape that didn't close came back on itself out of step and knifed itself clean out of existence. The same great cancelling from the 2-slit night. And each shape that survived had its own one wavelength, and one wavelength was always one energy. More humps, shorter wave, more go, and mind I never run it backward, so only certain energies were left allowed. A ladder, not a ramp. Quantization you named it, and it fell out of nothing grander than a wave that has to fit. Nature handing the trapped thing a menu, not a dial, with sheer forbidden cliffs between the lines. And on a big, heavy, hand-sized thing, that ladder is toothed so fine it apes a smooth ramp, which is why my marble fooled me. The grain from the first night is the fence between the two. So that's the graininess itself, given its floor at last. Energy comes counted out in rungs, because trapped waves only fit certain ways. Which cracked the atom wide open for me. The electron penned by the nucleus's pull is a trapped wave too, so its rungs fall out on their own instead of being declared from a hat, and when it drops from a high rung to a low one, it lets the gap go as one lump of light of one exact colour, or drinks that same colour to climb back up. And that is the barcode, bright in the spark and dark in the sunlight, the one fingerprint every glowing thing in the sky has been writing at us all along. And even the calmest bottom rung isn't 0. The stillest wave that fits still has to hump, still has to bend, still carries a shiver it can never put down, not even at the coldest midnight there is, not till the last wall's gone and it's free again, which is that same floor from a fortnight back, come round to meet me on the far road. And next week, I gather, the meek wave quits obeying its walls and starts walking straight through them. I'll be at your door early, as ever, and this time I'll wipe my boots.